Okay, so good afternoon, anyone that's watching. I'm Paul from Refocus Coaching, and I help dads in business to improve their energy and focus, improve their health, and to lose excess body fat in a sustainable way. And I put up these talks to talk to dads who are in business or in leadership positions, to talk to them about how they manage that in themselves. And today I'm joined by Ben Kirk. Ben, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ben Kirk, one of the founders and directors at Inspired Schools. And I also do some business coaching alongside at Inspired Schools. I guess the easiest way to describe what we do is to try and help children, families and schools become more physically active and understand the power that can have. And we do that through a number of ways, really, whether it's PE provision, playground markings and projects that we install at schools with training and with resources, videos, etc. And also our holiday camp arm as well, which is all down in Somerset, apart from the playground work, which is a national project. We were in Lincoln over the summer and Cornwall and Hertfordshire and sort of dotted all around. So yeah, everything we do is to try and get children, communities, families and schools more active, healthier, and to understand the benefits that brings along with it.
Fantastic. It's a really important piece of work, and it's been really good to watch how you've grown and developed that business as well over the last few years. So I don't think it can be understated how much of a positive impact it must have on whole families, and especially on those kids. So it's awesome piece of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wrote a book actually during lockdown. Got a bit bored, wrote a book for the business, but also a bit of a personal project as well, and actually understanding a little bit more deeply the benefits of the work that we do, from sort of learning breaks, and in Finland where they have a 15-minute break for every 45 minutes they do in the classroom. And I guess trying to push that into the schools here and help them to understand that you don't actually have to do more English, more maths to get children's attainment levels up. Actually, by having more active schools and having more learning breaks during the school day, it can be really transformative to a child's behaviour, attainment, attendance. But unfortunately, in this country, not at every school, but at some schools, they just don't understand or realise that less can be more. And actually, by having an active school and placing PE and physical activity at the top of their values and what they do will actually benefit the English and the maths, which is what they get their funding on. But so it's trying to help help schools understand that, and that's been a challenge. But yeah, the growth in what we do has been great, but it feels like there's still a long way to go, changing mindsets and trying to get, like I said, those children moving more in the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing at the moment, but also the childhood obesity epidemic that we kind of face as well, which is not spoken about enough.
No, it's a really challenging space, isn't it? And part of the work I do is I like working with parents, because there's from the work I potentially do to help parents improve how they view their nutrition and how they operate in themselves, has a knock-on effect, hopefully, to families and to children as well, in fueling them well, keeping them focused and bright, having healthy bodies, and not eating in that excess in those sort of ultra processed foods and so on, which helps with their energy levels and their focus as well. So it's an area of great interest to me, and I think it needs people like you on the ground, kind of keeping on banging the drum, and because the message is it's going to have to get home eventually, I think.
I hope so. I really do.
Yeah, good. Well, keep banging the drum, and I'll keep banging mine alongside as well. So we'll hopefully make some headway into that. So the point of this sort of conversation is to kind of talk to people like you who are in that position of kind of not only inspiring others to look at how they manage their health and their bodies and and their energy levels, in around that, you're also doing that for yourself. So you're a family man, you've got children of your own, you've got this big business with a lot of responsibility, you've got staff, you've got a lot going on. So, you know, really my sort of question to you is, out of those areas, you know, looking at your nutrition and your sort of sleep and recovery and your exercise and how you sort of plan and set your days up, are there any areas in particular that you've struggled with in the past that you've really had to focus and work on? I'm wondering if there's any sort of tips around how you've kind of gotten over those bumps along the way.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I could talk a long time about it. So I guess I think it's quite important to give some context. So I used to play football, only semi-professionally, but at a relatively good level. Played for Western-super-Mare for 4 years, and I guess my fitness and health was always kind of taken care of because I was good at football. I kind of played it 3 times a week for most of the year, and I would, you know, I'd train as well, sort of weight training, but more, I didn't have loads of spare time, so it was more to kind of top up my physical strength rather than my cardio, because that was taken care of with my football. So when I reached 30, I injured my knee, and my football career was kind of done quite suddenly. And then in the space of a year, I lost my best friend in the same year to leukemia. And whilst at the time I didn't sort of realize the impact that it had on my mental well-being, looking back now, it was quite significant in terms of I just went all in on the business. And my daughter, my eldest daughter, was 1 at the time when it all kind of not kicked off, but it all happened within that sort of year period. So I think my coping mechanism, if you like, was to go all in on the business, all in on family, and that was kind of me. That was my new identity. And I didn't feel like I neglected my health, but I absolutely did. So I still sort of carried on the weight training, but not seriously, just kind of did a little bit here and there in my garage, which again helped from a time perspective. And then there was a bit of a turning point really, where, because I was teaching at the time, so the business started the same year or just the year before really that I injured my knee and my best friend passed away. And I was still coaching and teaching at that time. I don't deliver anymore into schools because we've got a staff team of kind of 24, I think, that do that at the moment. But at the time I was running a bit late. So there was a day where I sort of a split day where I was at school in the morning and then school in the afternoon. I went home to have lunch, and my eldest daughter needed a bit of my wife at the time needed some help. So sort of I was there a bit longer than I would normally have been. And I thought, I'll be fine. I'll just jog to school because it was around the corner, maybe about, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile away, if that. And I was so out of breath. And I thought, geez, like in the space of probably 6 months to a year of not doing anything, I was like, geez, I need to kind of sort this out. So that was almost a bit of it wasn't a health scare by any means, nothing serious, but it was a bit of a reminder that I'd neglected it a bit. Someone that had always been really fit and healthy without really having to think about what I was doing in my own time. So at that point, I started to take my fitness a bit more seriously, with sort of upping the weight training side of things and doing a bit of cardio. I was still struggling with my knee at that point, so I couldn't do too much on my legs in terms of running and things. And then, yeah, fast forward, I suppose, to sort of 3-4 years ago, I did the London Marathon, and it was almost at a point where I was like, my cardiovascular fitness was quite poor. It was okay, but not something I ever really enjoyed. And I thought, do you know what? I'll just try running again. I was told not to because of my knee, and I'm not advocating that people do this, but I thought I'd test the water because my muscle loss in my right leg with my knee and my glutes and stuff had just gone. It had wasted away, where I was kind of compensating for my knee injury with my left side. And I just started running, and it was hard and it hurt. I actually, sharp pains in my knee. I live on the sort of Quantox in Somerset. So running up the hills, my knee would give way. And I was like, no, I'm going to sort of carry on. And it was the best thing I ever did because my knee is absolutely fine now. I know it's there. There's a bit of a twinge there sometimes, but my muscle growth is sort of back to where it was before. And I guess the reason I'm giving this context is I kind of, I guess, underplayed how important fitness was in my own life. And with my daughters, who are now 10 and 8, that for me was like, well, naturally, I want to be a role model to them. And I'm a bit of an obsessive person, and I can kind of, I guess, an obsessive person with kind of ADHD tendencies is what I've been described as by a head teacher. I don't think I have ADHD, but she's probably got a point that I can sort of flip between things. So that was kind of me. That for that time, I was all in on the business, all in on family, and then I've kind of flipped that to being all in on fitness really now. And so to answer your question, yeah, there were challenges, obviously, with young daughters and teaching 5 days a week. So I would be up at 5 a.m. and I'd be in the gym at 5 a.m. and I would get it done before the girls were awake. So yeah, the kind of self-limiting beliefs that people have around, I don't have any time to prep meals or go to the gym. I don't buy into that. And I think I know everybody's busy, I'm busy, but you can find time for 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day to be active, to get your heart rate up, to do some weight training. So that was kind of me. And I've then gone from, I wouldn't say I was inactive, but certainly wasn't as healthy as I am now, to being a little bit obsessive with my routines at the moment, to get the most out of my weeks, my days. And yeah, sorry, I've spoken a long time. Do you want me to carry on?
No, it's good. No, it's good. I'm just, I'm thinking, I don't want to interrupt you because it's valuable stuff. The thing that sort of strikes me is, not only did you kind of use a bit of sheer will, power, and determination, but you've put a plan in place, and then executed on it. Is kind of what's coming across, I think, because it's really, like you said, when you're younger years, when you are usually involved in sport, and you obviously played at a reasonable level, your fitness is sort of taken care of just by proxy of doing that and being that age, and without as many responsibilities perhaps as you have when you're a bit older. So that turning point, that cusp, is often the thing, isn't it, that makes people struggle, and then it's just getting back into some sort of routine. And I think it sounds like and feels like you've kind of plotted how you're going to do this, and you've prioritized the time to do this, and then you've delivered and you've stuck to it, and that's now become your routine. That's what it feels like.
And that's exactly it. And I think there's a combination of things that have led me to that point. Having kids, I listen to loads of podcasts and books, and I'm a bit of a geek, if you want to call it that. I like to understand and learn about what's important, and it is really important to me. I've had a challenging year personally, with I mentioned my ex-wife, so that's kind of happened within the last year. And I mentioned my sort of obsessive tendencies. They've kind of gone. I wouldn't advocate people being as active as I am, because it's a little bit extreme. And again, some context. I weight train, gym, sort of strength training 6 times a week, and I run 3 times a week. So it's a lot. But equally, I know that it's right for me because it helps me. And I'm not professing to have mental health concerns or anything like that, but it helps me mentally. I feel great after doing it. I always used to say to people that I hated running, but actually it's one of my favorite times of the week now, because it's the time where I ran this morning, only 3 miles, but we had a big team meeting yesterday, and I plan. So to your point on planning, look at my calendar, and I have all my gym sessions scheduled for the week. I had a big team meeting yesterday where we were discussing the roles and responsibilities of everybody in the business, and it went really well. Part of me was thinking, was it going to get heated? But people, identifying that maybe somebody's not doing the role that they should be, or they're not hitting their KPIs, or whatever it might be. So I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm actually going to I'll go for a run on Tuesday morning, and I'm going to the gym later to do my strength training. But when I'm running, I'm free. I'm free from my phone. I'm free from my emails. I'm free from a screen, and I do my best thinking. So like this morning, it was almost like a plenary for those that teach, for me to kind of review yesterday's meeting, and to kind of, I don't know, I get ideas, but I also summarize things really well when I'm out and about, and it's just literally me in the road, and that's a really positive time for me. I come back and I feel great, and then I come into the office today and I've got clarity and I'm ready to start the day in the office. So yes, people that know me well and know how active I am, it's almost like, well, what are you doing that for? Kind of, I'm 40 next week on Monday. But I feel great. Like, arguably, and I don't know my fitness data when I play football, but I feel just as fit now as I did then, a different type of fitness. I feel great, and I feel, I'm lean. Not that that's what I do it for, but in terms of my health, I'm rarely ill, which I don't think is a coincidence. Like, I eat well. I'm not obsessive enough to not have anything sweet. I have sort of treat days at the weekend. I make sure, and I love my food. So I'm not gonna sort of stop eating the things that I do, that I enjoy, but I do prioritize my health and my well-being. And like I said, I feel like I'm in really good shape physically, but also mentally now. Like I said, it's been a tough year, and it would have been easy for me to have gone the other way, where I sort of wallowed in self-pity and not kind of think, well, actually, this is an opportunity to find who I am again a little bit, and see it as a positive sort of step in my life. So yeah, in terms of my routine, I schedule, I calendar all my gym sessions to the point of like what specifically they're for. So run today. I go to the gym twice a week. I train in my garage 4 times a week to mix it up a little bit. And yeah, I'll pause there, but I'm sure you'll probably go into like sleep and stuff. But I can add to that in terms of what else I kind of do if you'd like me to, routine wise.
Yeah, no, it's really, we will do that, definitely. And I think, to your point, the fact that you're feeling good and the fact that you have that mental clarity, it's no coincidence. It's not luck. You've built that in, and this is precisely what you're promoting in the work that you do for those young people. If you physically move your body and keep your body in good order, your brain is sat inside of that thing, so it's going to also work better, operate better. You're going to have better hormonal balance, so you're going to feel good. And I think it's no coincidence at all, is it? So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And like you said, when you're in a busy period, it's really easy to excuse yourself of those responsibilities of taking care of yourself because you're busy. So you can just say, well, that's okay. I'll get back to this later. I'll just focus on this big piece of work or whatever it is that's keeping you busy. I'll focus on that for now, and I'll just get by with sleep, with exercise, with nutrition, and sort of just make it up as you go along and budget as you go along. But that's then when you start to suffer on that piece of work as well, because you're not going to have the mental clarity or agility that comes from keeping your body in order. So I think they're really, really good points. Tell me, I'm guessing therefore you have a pretty good sleep hygiene routine as well.
It slipped, to be quite honest. Okay. I did, but as I said, with a bit of a challenging year, it's something that has slipped. I need to get back on top of. But just I'll go on to that in a second. But yeah, you just said something there that really resonated. That I took my daughters on holiday, just me, for the first time in August. Yeah. And I get a little bit anxious if I can't exercise. Like, not in a bad way, but it's kind of it's important to me. And also the way that I kind of square it off in my mind, and it's not just an excuse so I can exercise, is I'm a better dad when I've exercised, because I'm more positive, I'm happier, and I've kind of done my exercise for that day. So it's like all-inclusive resort. But I made sure that there was a gym there. So the girls went to a kids club. I'd go to the gym for an hour and a half. I'd run. I'd do my strength every day. But then they get the best of me, rather than me sitting by a pool, eating, drinking, feeling not sorry for myself, but feeling bloated, unhealthy, thinking, I can't be bothered to move. I'll get that done, and then I'm at my best for the kids. And that goes for sleep as well, as a sort of kind of a segue into that. It's something that because I'm so active at the moment, I'm not getting enough sleep. And I know that my body sometimes is screaming at me. Like this morning, going for a run, it's like, arguably I possibly shouldn't have done it. Played football on Sunday for a veterans football team, an old man's football team, which I'm able to do now with my knee again. Whereas if I say my routine prior to that was, I'd put my phone away at 9 o'clock. I'd put it upstairs, and then I'd come back downstairs and I would watch TV for an hour. Sort of as you know, as a business owner, you tend to work in the evenings, but 9 o'clock was my cutoff. So I know that I need that hour switch off time so that I can actually go to sleep when I need to go to sleep. At the moment, I'm not doing that, but it was a really good routine. It got me into a really good place where I was getting kind of 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, which is what I feel like I need personally. And I know everybody's sort of different, individual differences, etc. But that time from 9 until 10 without my screen, scrolling social media or whatever it might be, that was really good. And then from 10 to half 10, I would journal and read. So I do my journaling for the day that's just been, and then looking ahead for tomorrow. And then I would read for 20 minutes. Usually my eyes would start to feel heavy, and then I would go to sleep, and that would be me until the morning. I'd sleep really well. That varies in stressful times with the business and whatever else, obviously personal stuff which has happened. So it's taken a bit of a hit, but I feel like I'm getting back to it. So I'm back to reading, but the time just needs to come forward a little bit. It's probably now close to 11 that I'm going to sleep, and it's not. And like I said, I'm up early to go into the gym or go for a run. So I just need to make sure that I get that right, especially going into the winter months where it's going to be easier for me to go, oh, I can't be able to go for that run this morning. But final point from me, I think my routine is so embedded in my week. I've been doing it now for 10 years, but seriously for probably 6 to 8 years. And I just can't deviate from it because it's so ingrained in what I do. It would just mess with my mind too much. So I've kind of gone so far with the routine that, and they say 6 months, don't they? But obviously the longer you embed that routine, the less likely you are that you're going to deviate from it. So yeah, my routine is pretty good. I'm maybe at like an 8 out of 10 that I'm happy with it. It's just some tweaks that I perhaps need to do to improve it further. And I'm a busy guy, like as in like the business is going really well. I work, a fair amount of hours a week. I do some business coaching on the side with some clients. So yeah, there's a lot to manage. And I think if you get that routine right and you calendar stuff and also, I said final point and I've gone on again, but like my daughters now, who I unfortunately I see every other, so I'm 50-50 with my ex. I wanted that, and because of being a business owner and being able to plan my week, and I do the work that I need to do, like the high value tasks and not admin and not operational stuff. I'm fortunate in a way. I say fortunate, I've built the business, so I perhaps need to give myself some credit that I can plan my week around when I've got the girls. So I've got them 50% of the week, every other weekend. So they are really important, as in when I've got them, make sure that we do stuff. I'm not in the gym all weekend while they're on their phones. Like we're out and about, we're active, they'll go out on their bikes and whatever else. So yeah, it's challenged, like to balance it all, but it's worth it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And like you said, again, it's not lucky that you're in that position. You've built that position. So it's good, and it's good that you value those things highly enough that you keep it that way as well. So with the sleep situation, I know it was a while ago that you started this sort of routine, but what enabled you to put that in place at that time? What sort of systems? Did you have a way of embedding that in the first place?
It was, I think, the realization of like hearing it on a podcast, probably around like bedtime routine and blue light, and trying to get not just a good amount of sleep, but the right amount of sleep. And it was like, actually, and I'm always one to reflect on myself and own my sort of behaviors and routines and think, well, I'm not going to make it. Oh, I'm busy. Like I go to bed at 11 and I get up at 5. That's kind of what I do. So again, I don't kind of buy into that. I always feel like there's things that people can do to kind of tweak it. And I just realized, I suppose, that there wasn't a moment with this, not like with my fitness. There wasn't like I'm not getting enough sleep, I've got injured or whatever, training. It wasn't like that. It was just more of I feel like I could be better at this, and it would benefit me, and I'd get more out of my day work-wise with the girls. At the time, I suppose it was a good thing to put my phone away at 9, because then we'd have an hour. Like if people that have got partners or girlfriends or husbands or wives, whatever they might have, like to have that sort of quality time. Obviously that didn't work, but that's another story. So that was, I guess, a culmination of things why I did that. How I put it into place, I guess it was kind of like a non-negotiable thing for me, that I was too reachable as a boss. I'm still reachable. It's not like people don't have my number, but it was communicating that to my staff team that because of what we do in schools, we sometimes have to find cover for a member of staff. We've got it all timetabled so that we usually are able to cover that in-house. But it got to a point where I would get a message at 9:30, 10. And you can imagine me receiving a message, or anybody receiving a message in that kind of industry as a head teacher or a business owner, whatever it might be. I can't come in tomorrow. I'm poorly, or my kids are poorly, or I've got COVID, or whatever it might be. Yeah. So it was like, well, if you're going to be off the next day before 9 o'clock, so you need to contact me. My phone's off at 9, and I turn it back on at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. So that was one thing. I felt like the business was creeping into my home a little bit. Whereas now I'm really firm on those boundaries that, yes, I work in the evenings. I enjoy what I do, so it's not, I don't see it as a chore, but actually there needs to be a line drawn. Otherwise, for two reasons, I suppose. Well, no, I suppose it blurs into one. If I work past 9, I can't switch off, and then I end up having a poor night's sleep, where I don't know whether I've got like a hot body temperature, but this is a bit not very nice to say, but I'm quite a sweaty person. So my quality of sleep isn't as good, and I'm like hot in bed, and I don't switch off. So I guess I just implemented it to try and be better and be more present at home. So I guess that was the main reason.
Yeah, I think it's really important to do some of that reflection work. So I like your point earlier about how your journal at the end of the day, and I guess part of that helps with the realization. You might be writing in there, I felt a bit tired and a bit groggy today, and you might start to notice patterns about what that might be related to, either your food or your exercise or lack of sleep. So I think that's a really useful thing to do. And again, a lot of people, it's becoming a bit more of a sort of buzzword nowadays, isn't it? Or a thing that people do is a bit of journaling. And I don't think you don't have to do it in a formal sense. You don't have to have a nice journal that you call your journal and you sit and actually write in. You can do it in a lot of different ways. But I think some self-reflection is really beneficial, because that's how you notice patterns. That's how you notice when something might not be quite right. And if you don't notice, you can't do anything about it. So, I think you're sort of catching yourself almost before you get to a crisis, or before you get to a point where it becomes difficult. So I think that's really important to do some of that work and do some of that reflection. That's really good. You mentioned part of your non-negotiables. So one of the questions I always like to ask people is, what are your non-negotiables in terms of your health and your daily sort of presence? Have you got some non-negotiables around that?
Yeah, so I suppose my main non-negotiable is around my daughters. So one non-negotiable we have is there's no phones at the dinner table, so that we're all present when we're together. I don't suppose it's a non-negotiable, but it kind of is around my exercise, that I will exercise sort of a minimum amount of times per week, and that will tend to be, I say a minimum. I do the same every week pretty much. Two runs a week is my minimum, I suppose. And if I can get a third one in, I will. So like this weekend is a good example. So I will probably only get 2 runs in this week. So 2 runs, and it was 4 gym sessions a week. That was kind of my non-negotiable of what I would commit to. With my obsessiveness, that's probably crept up a little bit. so that side of things. But I've got my daughters this weekend. It's my birthday weekend, as I said. So I know that I'll only be able to hit 2. But because it's all calendared, I don't get anxious about it because I know my week varies massively. Like I'm in Cornwall on Friday at product launch of ours down there. And I've got my daughters. So mum and dad, fortunately, they're going to come round and take them to school. So I need to get on the road at 7 a.m. And I'm again fortunate that I've got that to lean on. So I'll be in the gym to get that done and then go down to Cornwall. But I know that I've got the girls at the weekend, so I can't run at the weekend, which is absolutely fine. That's not an issue. So non-negotiable, is that no phones at the dinner table and that sort of presence when I've got them, but also they're present as well. My exercise is a non-negotiable as well. It's probably only 2 I would say that I have.
Yeah. Okay. And so you mentioned earlier about your journaling. Is that do you do that? Do you always do that as well every day?
Yeah. I suppose that is a non-negotiable as well. Yeah, I do that every night. And I suppose in regards to that, I journal about what works for me. So I found it doesn't take too long because I don't want to just do it for the sake of doing it. You kind of alluded to, having a nice journal and writing for the sake of writing. I'm quite concise with it. So I journal. So like for instance, last night I've journaled for today. So I'll have like Tuesday and then I'll have what I'm doing that day. So gym, I might have like a little note if I've slipped up on food. It might be like a good food day, just so I can tick that off later, hopefully. And then I'll have AM, most important thing of the day. So whatever that might be. So that could be. So for today, it was this, so that I was fully present with this. And I've added another one for today as well, which I can't remember what it is. Hopefully I can still tick it off later. So that's it, the most important thing. And that might be, like I said, work related, or it might be on a Wednesday when I've got my daughters back tomorrow night. It might be present with the girls. That's the most important thing in the day. Be fun, just be a good dad when they're there. So it doesn't need to be work related. It could just be a reminder that, like you said, I caught myself maybe not being present with the girls. I might have been really stressed out about something personal or something at work, and I just didn't feel like I was maybe short with the girls for whatever reason. So I'll catch myself and potentially do that. And then so number 1, most important thing of the day. Number 2 is what I'm grateful for. So it might be that, again, it might be I'm seeing the girls later. I'm really grateful that I'm able to have them 50% of the time. Or it might be I'm grateful for having a team of people around me that can do the administration today while I focus on high value tasks, something like that. And then number 3 is what do I want people around me to see in me that day? So and that's a really good one because, again, as a business owner, sometimes it's really easy to get into that really serious mindset of got to do this, got to do that. So sometimes it'll be assertive in the team meeting to make sure my points come across, or it might be enthusiastic and inspire my staff to go and impact as many schools as we can, or it might be present with the girls, sort of linked to that again, so that if we're going out and sort of seeing people, that I appear happy with the girls and being present with them, and I'm viewed as being a good dad, even though I am, but sort of make sure that gets across. And then in my review of the day, sort of like PM, number 1 will be what went well that day. Number 2 will be what could have been better that day. And then number 3, which is quite a nice one, is what have I done for somebody else that day? So it might be something really simple, like I washed everybody's mugs up in the office today. And that's quite a nice humbling one as a business owner, where you kind of, I don't know, just no need to be an arsehole. Like, I'm not expecting people to wash up my shit during the day just because I'm the boss. It's like, no, we're all in this together. And so I do something for my staff every day, in that if I'm in the office, I park a mile away so I can let my staff team have my parking space, which I know is only a little thing, but I get my steps up, and hopefully that's a nice thing that they appreciate.
Especially with the weather. I like that. Yeah, well, that definitely is a nice thing to do, isn't it, when the weather's like that? No, I like that a lot. I think, yeah, I wonder how often most people actually sit down and take a look at themselves from the outside looking in and say, what would the perception of how I'm acting today have been? Because, yeah, it's pretty rare, I think, that you actually sit and do that. I'm going to add that to my list of things to think about on an evening now. Thanks for that one. That's really good because, yeah, it could set the tone, couldn't it, for a whole interaction with someone new, with somebody established. And you never know as well what somebody you're interacting with has been through that day. You could be the touch point for fireworks accidentally because you don't know, or you could be a savior because you do something nice and kind and help someone out. So I think it's worth having that in mind, isn't it? Is that the way you present yourself to everybody could be really, really positive.
I think so, yeah. And I guess a bit of a case in point with that really is someone I've only known a short amount of time, but like we were chatting and she messaged me because I said to her around when we were chatting that I'm good at helping people. That's kind of, I guess, as a teacher and like my personality, like, so I know that she's sort of in the social care sector, which is obviously a really tough gig. And because we work with children ourselves, I was like, if you ever need anything, just let me know. And so she messaged me and said, oh, I'm actually applying for a job on Monday. Have you got a minute to kind of go through anything? And I'm guilty of this. I'm not very good at saying no. Not that I would have done because she's a friend, but it was like, yeah, of course. Like, I'll help you. So I've kind of glanced over her CV, given her some points on her covering letter. She's applied for the job yesterday. And that's something then that I can actually put in my journal, think, actually, no, I'm a good bloke. Like, I'm a good person. And I'm busy and I've got all this other shit going on, like, as everybody does. But make time for other people, like, be a good person, because I don't believe in fate and all that sort of stuff, but I do believe that it doesn't cost much to be a nice person. It doesn't cost anything, right? Good manners, saying hello to people, like you said, that you could make somebody's day that you don't even realize. And one of the things I've noticed actually is I'll always make a point if I see somebody homeless outside a supermarket of seeing if they want anything, if they want some food. And again, I'm in a fortunate position. The business is doing really well, and I'm in a place where I can do that. I'm not saying everybody go and buy stuff for people that are on the streets, but it's something that I can do, and I've done that with the girls. And now it's become a bit of a thing that if we do see somebody that's obviously fallen on hard times, we'll try and help them if we can. So that kind of helping thing, and what I'd love to do is take that to the next level and kind of get them and me to sort of volunteer somewhere, especially around like the Christmas time, because again, they're very fortunate, I'm very fortunate, and that helping piece and being there for people that are less fortunate is really important.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's really powerful, not only in helping them, but also it's quite rewarding in and of yourself, isn't it? So, and not in a sense that you can put it on Instagram and say, "Look what I did today." That, I mean, internally, it's a nice thing to do to help someone else, and know that you've done that is really rewarding and really positive.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, really good. We've gone sailing. It's gone so quickly this time. We've gone sailing into 38 minutes. I could talk to you endlessly. I will ask one last quick one. So, of the last sort of 10 years of that journey of yours, of that self-development in yourself and those changes that you've had to go through and building your business, is there been like a standout person, influencer, book, or thing that's kind of really stands out for you that's been really, really helpful?
Probably all of those things, to be honest. I think my biggest inspiration is Luke, who passed away. I think his motto was "Better never stops," and that's always stuck with me. And I guess I kind of adopted his mantra into my own life, like consciously. Obviously, he used to say that to his football team that he coached. So that he was a massive influence on me always, like as a best friend and even now. And I guess I kind of trying to keep his legacy going a little bit. So there's him. In terms of sort of from a business perspective, I love Deborah Meaden on Dragon's Den, but I suppose the one that I've had the most sort of dealings with is a guy called Daniel Priestley. who I went on his business accelerator with Dent, and that changed our business. So in terms of his philosophy, and I couldn't recommend his books any more highly. So I think he's got 4 books: Entrepreneur Revolution, Key Person of Influence, 24 Assets. Is there another one? But definitely 3. There might be another one that I've missed there. So him as a mentor, I suppose, because he was present on those days. He wrote the course, so I'd class him as a mentor. He's been really influential for me. And then books wise, the book that always jumps out at me is Legacy, about the All Blacks rugby team, which isn't a business book, but it's about how they've kind of developed their ethos in the All Blacks, and they've got like a no dickheads policy, which kind of relates to what I said a minute ago. And there's loads of business books. I really like Shoe Dog, which they made that film about, the Nike story. That was a really good book that I read. And I'm reading one at the moment, which, one second, I listen to books, I don't read them. I tend to listen to them in the gym. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, which is a really good one. And that's kind of I'm reading that or listening to that at the moment because it feels very relevant to what I said earlier around the jobs that I'm doing in the business and what everybody else is doing, and just maximizing what we're getting out of people.
Yeah,
hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's really good. Some stuff for me to look up there as well. Really good. Fab. Well, look, I've taken up loads of your time, and you need some of that stuff. So I think we'll wrap it up there. We haven't had any questions or comments come in, but if anyone does have any after this, then obviously get in touch or put a comment under the video, and we'll get back to you. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can see the LinkedIn coming up there. So yeah, Ben Kirk on LinkedIn. I'm on all social media channels if you want to search me up, Ben Kirk. So yeah, if you're a head teacher or a school or PE coordinator that's listening to this, then we'd love to work with more schools or influence more schools. And if you want a copy of the book, then I can send that out to your school as well, which has got tips on how the school can become more active. I've got some podcast episodes as well, which might be of interest, with some pretty cool people around their journeys into sport. And like I said, I do some business coaching on the side. I don't actually have any free slots at the moment because it's not the main thing that I do. However, if you are interested in finding out a bit more about how I work with people, then just drop me a message. And that's probably about it, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And for anyone interested in working alongside myself, I'm running a free 5-day coaching event next week, which you can still sign up for now at that link just there. 5 days of kind of planning and mindset and getting ready and preparing for change if you've been struggling with your health or with weights or anything like that. Completely free, a little bit of work every day through the 5 days. Really good feedback. So you can see that on that website link there. So awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been a brilliant conversation. Maybe we can have another one in a year's time and see how things are going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. Thank you for you.
Yeah,
thanks,
brilliant.
Paul.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.